Just as I started to come around to the fact that the iPad is never going to run macOS, I get sucked back in with recent reports and rumors stating that iPadOS 19 will be more macOS-like this year, and we're starting to get more and more details surrounding how that might take place. So according to Bloomberg's Mark Gurman, iPadOS 19 will be more macOS-like in these three ways, with improvements to productivity, multitasking, and app window management. Now, we don't really have a ton of details on the specifics surrounding those three areas, but some rumors out there have suggested that users will have more flexibility when it comes to windows, and windows being able to be moved around more freely and overlap with other apps and perhaps be placed slightly off screen, all similar to how app windows behave on the Mac. Currently, you're kind of restricted by how Apple would want your apps to be resized and where to place them, and while it has gotten better over the years, there are still some frustrating limitations. Now, where it becomes more interesting and will further blend the lines between macOS and iPadOS is the new rumor from leaker Majin Buu that states when an iPad running iPadOS 19 is connected to the Magic Keyboard, a macOS-like menu bar will appear on the screen. Now, I'm not entirely sure what else will be on this menu bar, but one would assume it would have very similar options like File, Edit, View, and all the stuff that you see on the Mac. But I also wonder if it'll bring over the ability to have certain menu bar apps pinned to the top right corner like we have on the Mac, making it easier to access specific functions or see different information. Honestly, I feel like it'll be kind of more so control center options that you can probably pin up to the top of the menu bar, but I would love to hear from you in the comments down below. What do you think about a menu bar coming to the iPad? Now, I've been clamoring for years for Apple to just kind of have some sort of way to run macOS on the iPad when docked to the keyboard for the Pro models at least. We can still run both iPadOS and macOS, but just for very specific use cases. So if you are docking it to a Magic Keyboard, let it go into like a full-fledged version of macOS, and then give yourself the ability to turn that off if you want to, or switch back to, tablet mode once it gets undocked. But we have overpowered tablets that are being heavily underutilized, in my opinion, especially with these Pro models. So I would love to see something like that where you can toggle back and forth between iPadOS and macOS. I think as of right now, it sort of looks like we're getting some of those macOS specific features ported over into just kind of like separate different functions, like the menu bar that we just talked about, and maybe some improvements to Stage Manager and kind of getting those new updates to the windows and how those windows of the apps kind of are able to be moved around. But it also looks like Stage Manager is getting another capability with a different device, as the same leaker also claimed that iOS 19 will be able to support at least a limited version of Stage Manager in some sort of capacity on an iPhone that has a USB-C port. In a recent blog post, the leaker said that when an iPhone with a USB-C port is connected to an external display, users will be able to take advantage of Stage Manager-like interface with multiple apps open at once on screen. However, he said that there might be more limitations compared to the Stage Manager that we know and love, or maybe not love, on an iPad. So this would include all iPhone models from the iPhone 15 lineup and newer, though my guess is this could be limited to a Pro-specific feature, but who knows, maybe Apple will bring this across all of those iPhones, Pro or not. But I've also been kind of pounding my fist at the table, so to speak, on features like this that are very reminiscent to what Samsung has to offer with its DeX feature for Samsung smartphones. So you plug it in via USB-C to any monitor, and then DeX launches. So in this case, it would be some sort of Stage Manager. So it'd be great if we were getting kind of those full-fledged iPad apps, but I don't think that's going to be the case. So it'll probably be just like, think of the iPhone mirroring on the Mac. Maybe it'll be kind of like just different iPhone-related side screens of different apps. But that's still better than nothing in my opinion. But again, I would love to hear from you in the comments what you think. We're a little over a month away from WWDC, with the keynote being on June 9th, and hearing all about iPadOS 19, iOS 19, macOS, all of the software updates that we're going to get. But I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below. What are you most excited about when it comes to iPadOS? What macOS-like feature do you want ported over, if at all? Or maybe you're on the complete end of the other spectrum here. Let us know down in those comments. This has been Dan with MacRumors. Thanks so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you around in the next video.